This episode of Midco Sports Magazine is presented by Shields and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Hello, welcome again to Midco Sports Magazine. We are full of ambition this month. Some stories about putting your head and your heart into something and making it turn out right no matter what. We'll take you to a horse racing track in Fargo, North Dakota, and meet a man who is keeping the sport he loves alive in the Dakotas. And another man in Sioux Falls who has been more than a mentor on the baseball diamond. To call him just a coach, it's not enough. His story coming up later. But we start with a father from Inwood, Iowa, always there to do whatever it takes to help his kids in their sports, always giving all of himself, even though he is literally missing part of himself. Here's David Brown.
The early morning light only serves to illustrate what we already know. And what we know about Marvin Van Beek is obvious. But it's not a matter of no arms, it's just no nonsense.
I just figured I had to deal with it, and I don't really ever remember having arms. I was riding on the drawbar of a tractor and fell into the power takeoff, and my arms got caught and lost them both.
7-year-old Marvin woke up in the hospital a week later, but quickly realized his perspective would be shaped for years to come.
Then I wore artificial arms, so I went to Grand Rapids, Michigan almost every month for a year. And there was 3 boys there without both arms or both legs, so I was done feeling sorry for myself.
And Marvin was also done with prosthetic arms. He tried them for a while, but he just became more reliant on his other extremities.
I learned to do more with my feet and my chin and shoulder, so about 6th grade I quit wearing my arm and just used my feet and mouth to do everything.
That included chores around the farm. Hauling bales of hay and feed with his teeth was probably the most arduous task. But as Marvin grew older and started having kids, baseball became both a challenge and an opportunity.
When I was younger, I used to play slow pitch softball, and I pitched and held the bat between my chin and shoulder and didn't hit the ball far, but I could at least get it to shortstop and did what I had to.
Pitching is where Marvin would find his groove. And as his kids grew to love the game, he tossed them batting practice. The only way he knew how.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He can put it pretty much wherever he wants.
I think I throw pretty good batting practice. I throw at least 90% strikes, so if I don't, it's sort of on purpose.
Josh is the youngest of Marvin's 4 kids and the third to play high school baseball for West Lyon. And even his coach is amazed by what Josh's father can do.
I'm throwing BP to my guys, and there's times where I struggle, and he's pitching for the softball team and hitting the carpet.
Nobody's ever trained me how to do anything. I figured out how to do most of it by myself.
Marvin even figured out how to keep West Lyon fans updated on the team's games. He may not conform to the usual standards, but he certainly toes the line.
I wasn't really aware of it, to be honest with you, until last year when I had somebody come up and thank me for doing something on the iPad, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And I kind of found out who did it, and Marvin was doing it, keeping track of the game.
As long as I can stay involved out there, I'll stay involved, because I like working with kids and seeing them be successful and want to get better with their lives.
His passion is baseball. He loves baseball.
Marvin admits the stares when he was younger used to bother him, but now he understands people are just curious. Yet with all that he can do in his life, Marvin says the last thing he wants to do is be put on a pedestal.
I don't really want to look at like I'm an inspiration to anybody. I don't want people to look up to me, and I just want to be treated as a normal person. There's always somebody in life that has something worse than you have.
No arms, no nonsense, no excuses. No reason to believe anything other than what's right in front of you. No problem for him, no problem for his kids, no problem he can't solve. So no more questions for Marvin Van Beek, because the answer is yes.
If you want to accomplish something bad enough, you'll find a way to do it.
All right, joined now by David Brown. And David, you mentioned when you were doing this story that Marvin really didn't want to do the story. If it was going to be something about woe is me or I'm special or look at me or anything like that, he wanted it just to be straight down the line.
Absolutely. He mentioned just when he was a kid that he just never felt sorry for himself.
Yeah.
He just woke up after the accident. He didn't have arms. He tried prosthetic arms for a while, as we mentioned, but he just decided, you know what, it's easier to use my feet. I don't want anyone feeling sorry for me. This is just the way I have to live now.
And you can see how involved he is, not just with his own kids in Inwood, but in Inwood in general, right?
Yeah, in addition to all the stuff he does with his kids, he also works with an agency, a job agency that helps disabled people in the Northwest Iowa area find employment. And so the ironic thing to me is he doesn't want to be seen as an inspiration. We've talked about that, but he helps his kids with their athletics. He keeps parents up to date on the local baseball games. He helps people in the community find jobs. I mean, you put that all together, that's pretty darn inspirational to me.
It is. All right, nice work. Thanks a lot. David Brown. When we come back, Junior Dulphus is an equine trainer, horse racing. It's in his blood. And we'll go to Fargo for some beautiful sights and sounds in that story up next.
Midco Sports Magazine on Midco Sports Network is presented by Shields and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back. Some things get in your blood, they say, and for Junior Dulphus, that is horse racing. From his early days in Eagle Butte, South Dakota with his father, to the tracks across the Midwest now, including one in Fargo, North Dakota, where we track down Dulphus as he continues to run down his dream. Here is Marty Mueller.
The story of horses in the Dakotas is one as old as time. Deep-rooted in culture, history, and traditions, the horseman way of life has been passed down from generation to generation. One such cowboy is Junior Dulphus, whose passion for horses formed before he could even trot.
I grew up on a ranch on the Cheyenne River Reservation, and my dad always had race horses. And I come from a family that has 8 sisters and 3 brothers, and I was the youngest. So I had to ride bareback to begin with because we didn't have enough saddles for everybody.
No saddle, no problem, says Junior, who spent his youth racing across the pastures of west central South Dakota on his father's string of horses.
That's Native American culture, is horses, and all the ranchers say, hey, you got a fast horse, let's test it out in the pasture, you know. So, by God, you always racing horses on the reservation.
Junior's riding days would be put on pause when he joined the U.S. Army after high school. But not even 9 years in the service could stop his passion for horses.
I had some leftover thoroughbreds from my dad's breeding at home because we had like 150 horses at home, you know, just running wild when I got out of service. And I just decided to break a couple of them and go to the local Indian meets there on the reservation, and we started doing good.
With the seeds of Dulphus racing now planted, Junior would grow his operation into a dominant force on the Dakota horse racing circuit, gaining the trust and respect of those involved along the way.
I just think he's got a passion for it now. Horses have been in his family for generations, and so he's a good horseman and he's a great guy. So I think it's pretty easy for people to follow him into those relays, and they're successful at some of the highest levels. So I don't see them slowing down anytime soon.
Oh man, horse racing and the people that you meet we're all in it. I mean, I don't know, they call us crazy or what, but we all stick together. We try to help each other out as much as we can. I mean, yeah, we're trying to beat each other every weekend, but when it all comes down to it, we're all horse people, and we're doing this for the love of the game, because you ain't gonna get rich at this game.
It's not about the money, it's about the enjoyment. With such a tight-knit community, everybody knows everybody, and the competition is just as strong as the camaraderie.
We rely on each other, and that goes back to that racing family. We all You know, we help each other out wherever and however we can, and that's really the story, I think, of this racing game. It's a real thing, and I guess it's the passion in the people that make it that.
The affection for the sport is on display each weekend at the track, but it's built every day by those working with the animals they love.
Oh, I think the good Lord touched me, get a little choked up, but you treat horses the way you treat anything that you love, you know, you cherish them. And I believe they give that back to you 100%. If you just show that you take care of them every day, consistent, you gotta be consistent. They will give it back. I honestly believe that. I've seen it. I mean, I took horses that nobody wanted, and we turned them around and we won a lot of races with them. And it's just amazing feeling that the connection that horses give you. They look at you, you can see in their eyes that they enjoy you being there, that you know they're safe with you.
The returns take many shapes and forms, from bonds with the horses to countless wins, ribbons, and trophies. But like most in the community, success to Junior is neither here nor there. He knows exactly what drives his passion.
It's definitely in our inner culture because we're horse people. So, you know, I'm a cowboy at heart. That ain't coming out of me.
Junior Dulphus and his team have had a season to remember in 2018, picking up over 20 wins on tracks across the Dakotas. Next up, Junior's favorite event of the year, the Indian Relays. A two-time winner of the event at Canterbury Park, Dulphus Racing will look to capture another crown later this month.
Well, up next, bonding through baseball, a Sioux Falls coach who gives true meaning to the word mentor. But first, here's this month's segment on the science of sports.
Sports science is really understanding the physiology and the biomechanics behind athletic performance and health and safety. We use a lot of cutting-edge technology and high-tech equipment to test high-level athletes, but the same tests apply to your recreational athlete and youth athletes. They may not be able to perform at the same level as a professional football player or basketball player, but when we're talking about reaction time, speed, agility, those are the same attributes that go into being successful at the middle school level, the high school level, the collegiate, and the professional level. Anyone can benefit from the types of assessments that we have available to us at the Stanford Sports Science Institute. Whether you're a high school athlete or a professional athlete, that information is individual and it can be actionable to you to help you reach your goals.
Midco Sports Magazine on Midco Sports Network is presented by Shields and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back to Midco Sports Magazine. The term coach was first used in an athletic sense to mean instructor or trainer, and the good coaches are still that, but it's the ones who can go beyond that to make you not only a better player, but a better person. Those are the ones, like the man in our next story, that really make a difference. Here's Kelly Stewart.
Define the role of a coach. On the surface, it may seem pretty clear-cut. Run the practices, draw up the plays, choose the lineups, standard coaching duties in sports. We all know that there are good coaches, there are bad coaches, but just like athletes, there are also coaches that go above and beyond what's written in their contract to make an impact and leave a legacy that lasts long after the final buzzer or the last out.
He cared for his players, and he loved us. He really did, just like family.
You can't not respect Drew. He's a very good guy. He loved all of his kids, and it was fun to play for him.
We were just like a family for 9-10 years, however long it was. He taught us how to play the right way and to play hard, to have fun with it too.
Drew might be what they call him now, but for much of grade school, it was Coach Haas. Rewind back to the mid-2000s. These current college players were just getting their first at-bat when it came to organized sports, and they needed a coach.
I was told at one time, if you want to make sure that you don't have a jerk coaching your kids, then you better do it yourself. That's one way to control that. And I think that's one of the things that I wanted to do to make sure that they had a good experience. I also played a lot of sports, enjoyed sports, and that was a good way for me to continue it with my kids.
It was a chance for us to spend a lot of time together, especially over those summers, and you know, that's something that I'll cherish for a long time.
This Sioux Falls area team called themselves the Titans, with Coach Skelhaas at the helm and John Winkelpleck as his assistant. Like most youth baseball squads, the expectations for the kids were more about having fun and learning the fundamentals. But when a team is built of all the right pieces, with all the right attitudes and the right coaching, it's a recipe for something special.
We were just all friends who were lucky enough to play baseball together, really. You know, lucky enough to have a pretty decent team as that, too.
I think a big part of it was our coaching. They did a really good job of making sure that we were more than a team, we were also family. I love every one of my players that I played with. They're like brothers to me.
He's the kind of guy that you want to be around, just because he makes everyone around him a little better each day.
In this day and age, unfortunately, there's becoming more me than we in youth sports. It's nearly as common as a routine grounder to see players and their parents leave teams to chase what they think is the bigger, better deal. Not the case with the Titans. They were an anomaly, sticking together for around 10 years. If we're talking baseball, consider this group of South Dakotans as rare as an unassisted triple play. When a team spends an entire decade together, it becomes a lot more evident that they hit a home run on the coaching front early on. But to Coach Skelhaas, it's always been we. Fitting, considering baseball is described as the most humbling sport.
We got along really well, and I think it might have been just maybe those standards that we set early on.
Oh, and I guess winning helps too.
It's easier to have fun if you're winning. And we were very successful, and at the same time challenge these kids. If they might strike out or maybe give up a hit or have an error, sometimes you're dealing with having to just pump them up, and some kids, it just took them a longer time to figure out that, hey, it's okay to fail. You know, you're gonna get another chance. That was probably the challenge, but that was probably the biggest reward of it too. That there were a bunch of different kids, a bunch of different personalities, and to see them grow and mature at different rates, but all together was pretty neat.
In sporting terms, Coach Skelhaas had all the intangibles. He did much more for the Titans and their families than what his role may have read on a roster. But ironically, one of his most impactful moments, a meaningful part of his legacy on these young men, involves a tangible element. No, not a roster, a different piece of paper.
I wrote a letter to each kid as they were heading into college and just talking about what a positive impact they had on me and what I thought that they could look for at the next part of their life, the next chapter of their life.
Logan, as your time as a Titan comes to a close, I wanted to let you know how much I appreciate being a small part of your life.
Jack, as you are wrapping up your time with the Titans, I just wanted to thank you for the time we spent together as a coach and player, but more importantly as a dad and son.
He thanked me for playing hard for him for all these years. It was just Drew telling me how proud he was of me and how it's been amazing to watch me grow over these past 9-10 years, however long it's been.
Of course, there was talk of baseball.
You are a leader. Actions speak louder than words, and you lead by example. However, when you do speak, people listen. A few simple words from you in the dugout probably went further than a mouthful from me.
With that said, your mental approach has improved the most over the years, taking that God-given ability and harnessing it. You have the ability to dominate a game, and there were times that you carried us. So I mean, that kind of meant something to me because throughout my younger years, I'd always get mad and I just didn't really enjoy the game until he sat me down and talked me through it. And ever since then, I enjoyed the game a lot more.
A big part of enjoying the game is humility. As serious as Coach Skelhaas could be, he never forgot how to have fun and find humor in any situation.
One of the memories we shared, I was at third base and I fielded a ground ball and it popped up and hit me in the nose. And I was kind of knocked out for a little while. And he was the first one. I remember coming to a little bit and I see Drew's eyes right away at third base and he looks at me and he goes like this and my nose is just crooked, just terrible. But
you were tough. Remember the line drive off your head? I hope so. Otherwise, you might want to get that rechecked.
But like a team that's worked hard all season, Coach saved the best for last.
On a more personal note, I know that baseball or any other sport is only a small piece of who you are. It's rather insignificant actually when compared to the rest of what and who you have become.
As you start a new chapter in your life, I'm confident it will be a great one. I know that you will be a success in your career, as a husband, as a father, and as a man.
Remember that you aren't defined by your accomplishments, but by who you are and how you treat others. I have no doubt that you will be a success because of this. I love you and I am proud of you, Jack. Thank you for everything.
The last at bat, the final out. As much as we love them, sports are short term. The sting of a loss, the triumph of a win, even the ink on the letters. They'll all fade with time. But to a special group of young men, Drew Skelhaas will forever be coach.
Joined now by Kelly Stewart. And Stu, you can tell when people are genuine, when things are genuine, especially in TV, when you're doing an interview and you turn the camera on, and some people can turn it on and then turn it off, that genuineness. That was not the case at all with Drew and his guys. Right?
Oh gosh, not at all. You know, just growing up around sports, you love to see the impact that a coach can have on players as they're going from age 10 to high school, and just the relationships they form not only with their coach but with their teammates. And of course we talked about in the story, and everyone said great things on camera, but to me the most interesting part was off camera, the stuff we didn't capture and we couldn't capture, but just the guys cracking inside jokes, or just, you know, bro hugging, and just seeing each other because they haven't seen each other in a while. And it's just like everyone's gone their separate ways, now everyone's in college, but they picked up right where they left off. And to me, that just drove home the point of this team was something special, and I saw it there.
Yeah, special to be part of something that special. So thanks a lot. Kelly Stewart. Thanks for watching Midco Sports Magazine. You can find this episode and all episodes on YouTube.
This has been Midco Sports Magazine, presented by Shields and Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.